All right, peace, guys. I hope everybody had a really solid weekend. I'm coming in today on this Sunday afternoon, and we're going to get into a little weekly prep for the trading week ahead. So, last week was a great week. We saw a little bit of pullback in the major indexes. We saw some crypto blow off. We saw some pretty solid moves across the board. And overall, we had some news dropping out there in the markets that gave us some pretty good day trade setups, too. So we went into the week last week with three swings that we were really trying to take advantage of and really trying to lock down and nail. And if you guys remember the thesis on Baba, right? Alibaba, you remember the thesis on RR, and you remember the thesis on UMAC. What I'm going to start with today is we're going to give a recap of how those trades played off, kind of where we were looking at the beginning of the week last week, where we're at now, how we manage those positions, and how we can manage those positions better in the future. And that's right where we're going to pick it up, guys, is with Baba, the trade that I spent the most time on last week, really kind of highlighting this trade and the breakout potential here and what I liked about the characteristics of this chart. Okay, so to kind of recap, I mentioned that I liked the candles of this recent range of Alibaba right in this range right here. As of last week, this was the range we had been putting in. And we liked the shape of these candles. We liked the consistency in the opens and the close. And we liked the construction. Here's something else I didn't really mention to you guys that I liked, but looking back on it, kind of a hindsight thing. I really liked how you can see clearly here we're in what I would call a downtrend. A downtrend characterized by higher lows and lower highs, right? That's clearly a Stochastic downtrend. And we consistently got that trend, and it didn't change until last week. And you can see what happened here is we call that a market structure shift, is when we got a higher low. The trend kind of showed us a little bit of a change of character, switching from these lower highs to putting in its first higher low in a long time, okay? And not only did we do that, but we went from here and we put in another higher high, okay? So you see what I'm saying here? I didn't word that perfect, but, we went higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, and then boom, something changed here. And we went higher high, higher high. And if you really look here at what's going on, clear up some space, we might just be forming some higher lows now since this bottom right here. Not calling that bottom temporarily, that's showing us some higher lows in the setup. Now, I had a pretty good position in this thing at the beginning of the week. I signaled it on Monday that I was entering calls, and I took what for me is an A type of setup position in this thing. Took an A position, capitalized on it on Monday. This candle you see right here, I had bulk of my position right there, okay? I took some of my weekly calls and took them off the table after that day. But I took my next week's calls, which was the core of my position, and I kind of let those things ride right into that gap up, you know? Looking back on it, would it have been nice for me to hold the bulk of my position for that gap up? Yes, it would have been nice. But that's not the way that I want to play. I want to be in this game for the long term, for the foreseeable future. And the only way I know to trade is to lock in profits when they're there. So I locked in profits. I didn't quite capitalize on this maybe to the extent that I could have, but that's fine. You're never going to be perfect, and there's always going to be more opportunities to catch trades like that. So we got that gap up, we put in that doji candle, and we've gapped down, and we sort of erased the previous move. Now, I told you guys after this candle closed right here that I was trimming up my position and really lightening my load on Baba. And here's why. To put it quite simply, this is not a position of strength. to go from that gap up to that gap down with not much follow through. And all I had to do, guys, and I do this all the time, I go back in time in the stock. And historically, I look at how this thing does in similar situations. Like here, I see a similar candle right here. I tell you what, I saw us gap down, and I don't see much follow through. I see here, it looks like a gap up and then a weak sell off and a gap down. There's no follow through. Here, a gap up, a gap down, and then no follow through. I see this pattern pretty consistently in Baba, even when I go back 2 years. You guys probably can't see this great because it's not really zoomed in, but here's a bunch of them. Gaps up, no ability to hold, sell off, and we don't bounce. Here's a gap up, sell off, no ability to bounce, a gap up, a gap down, and then no holding. A gap up, a gap down and no hold. So in this name right here, that pattern historically has not presented the returns that we're looking for out here. So seeing that, reevaluating after new information that was presented, I came up with a new thesis, and it saved me from probably losing, and giving back some of those gains into Thursday and Friday. Still firmly on watch. What would we like to see? Well, just like in the past, when we got those candles, those moves up, and then those sell-offs, let's see some grinding up, some higher lows, some contraction. Let's see us filling in this range. Because all in all, Baba still, it still looks good. It still checks a lot of boxes for me in a setup. Checks a lot of boxes for me in a setup. Here we'll go. I'll zoom in here and show you what I'm looking at. This trade, it fits the criteria of my 50 MA consolidation pattern. And I'm going strictly off the info in the Discord right now. If you're not in the Discord, shoot me a message. Let's get you in. If you want to go over this trade pattern and refine it with me and figure out how to trade it better, I'd love to get on a call with you and help you out. But just going straight off the Discord here, what I look for in a 50-day consolidation pattern. It's one of my top setups to trade. Okay, we look for this. This would define an A+ setup as far as the 50 MA consolidation pattern goes. So we need to see a strong prior uptrend. Okay, we need to see a strong move that we're sort of sidewaysing from, and I'd give this right here the strong upward move that we were talking about. Okay, here to here. We got that strong upward move that we like. So it showed strength leading into consolidation, which is characterized right there by that strong move, that 102 to 120. Okay, so 20% in a matter of a week. That's a strong move that automatically fits that criteria for me. The next thing we need to see is respect of the 50-day. Okay, the 50-day moving average. And this type of trend here, back here we had a rejection. I'd love to be able to show you here. Let's see if this gives me something. Okay, here you go. Respect of the 50 MA right there. Denied it. We came through, and then possibly we show a wick above it, showing us that maybe that was a resistance in the past, maybe a resistance here, maybe a, turning to a support here. So it's respecting the 50-day. I like to see that in my consolidation setup, okay? Tight consolidation. Up until this pattern right here, I wouldn't say it had that tight consolidation. It can still get tighter, but here it's definitely the tightest range that it traded in for a while. So there you go, 3 for 3. It fit my tight consolidation, which I categorize as multiple higher lows forming a coil pattern. Okay, so forming a coil pattern, volatility is compressing into the 50-day moving average. Okay, we got that there. Not perfect. We didn't get the perfect higher lows, but we got some higher lows. We definitely got the volatility compression. Volume pattern. Okay, we want to see rising green volume on up days during the coil. We want to see declining volume on red days during this period. And in this one, we didn't get a bunch of big swings in this pattern yet. Um, that green day wasn't super impressive. This might be the first green day. Well, looking at it now, the doji day was the big volume day. So in this consolidation pattern, we did not check that box, which would be higher volume on green days and declining volume on red days. That's something we can look for to kind of start to take shape over the coming weeks here. If Bob is really going to set up as an A plus setup for this pattern. Okay, so it didn't check the volume pattern. Volume is a little sketch on this name right now. Okay, now next thing we want to see is shakeouts and recoveries. So we want to see a false breakdown or a large red candle that quickly gets bought up, showing strong demand, especially if it's at the 50-day moving average. That gives it more significance. We don't have that here. Okay, there hasn't been one washout day where buyers clearly came in and bought this thing up. We haven't got that yet, okay? Um, okay, so as far as our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 criteria goes, we get about a 4 out of 6 on this thing. So all in all, that's not an A. That's probably not even a B plus in this name right now on Baba. So keep it firmly on watch. If you want the PDF that I just read off, if you're in the Discord, it's in there. All I need you to do is go to my strategy and go to the 50-day consolidation page and study up on that. I've got some examples on there. I've got the criteria for me for an A plus setup. As I said, this is one of my bread and butter patterns that I trade. Okay, great swing setup right here. Just a great swing pattern to get familiar with and to add to your repertoire as a weapon for you. So, Baba firmly on watch, no position right now. I'm not in it. Okay. Let's go to another setup that fits that criteria. This is one I caught on Scan this weekend. Okay. It's PSTG, so Pure Storage Inc. Technology Computer Hardware. Think about the criteria I just listed for a 50-day MA consolidation setup. What do we want to see? Right? Higher lows. Okay. We want to see a strong prior uptrend. Well, we got a strong one ever since April. Ever since market lows here, the stock's up almost 100%. So boom, we got our strong prior uptrend, and you can check that box. Here she is right here. Strong prior uptrend, nearly a double, nearly 100% movement in the underlying stock here. Okay, the next thing we want to see is respect of the 50 EMA. What do you guys think? Is that something we got here or not? Well, let's see. It's like one touch, maybe two touches right there. Looks like maybe a third, maybe a fourth. Yeah, check that box, right? That definitely is respecting the 50 EMA. Another way you can see if it's respecting is look at the volume, okay? Volume spikes when we test the trend line. And I'd say, yes, volume increases on the 50 EMA test. So price clearly to me, respecting that moving average, okay? So 2 for 2 on the setup. Third thing we want to see is tight consolidation. And I've got here multiple higher lows forming a coil pattern. Volatility compresses into the 50 EMA. How many higher lows do we have here? Count them out. 1, 2, 3, potentially 4. We've got some higher lows, and we've got sort of a compression here above the 50 MA. Okay, so check that. That's 3 for 3. And the next thing I'm looking for here is rising green volume on up days, declining volume on pullbacks. Okay, let's see. Here's a big green day, kind of in this here. I don't love that. Okay, I don't love that. Now let's go to this downtrend. Uh, yeah, it looks like the volume's kind of heavy on that downtrend right there. Let's check this uptrend. Nothing super special, nothing out of the ordinary. Um, so volume on this is, it's kind of wishy-washy. It's definitely not, I wouldn't give that a check on that box. One thing I do like is how the volume is compressing here, right? So as the range is getting tighter, as the range is getting more contracted, the volume is compressed. Okay. So that's showing me that liquidity is being formed in this thing. And what I mean by liquidity is I mean that there's people getting positions. There's people in active positions that have not been forced out yet, right? They haven't had to fold their hand yet. So they're still in this and they've got their stop losses placed. Now, some of them, they've got their stop losses down here on this lower trend line. Some of them, they've got their stop losses at this support line right here. Some of them have a stop loss at this support line down here. Okay? Some of them, they're shorting this thing, right? They're expecting it to go down. And they've got their stop losses maybe put up here on this high. Okay? So there's people with positions. The market has to take somebody's position in order to go the other way. That's just simply the way the market works. Okay? For every buyer in a market, there has to be a seller to make that position available so somebody can buy it. You can't have a house. You can't just move into a house without somebody selling it previously to you. Same concept here with the market. For you to buy a contract, you need a seller to sell it to you. Okay? It's plain and simple. We're waiting for that liquidity to be formed. Here, I have no position in PSTG. I wanted to bring this to the forefront and talk about it from an education perspective because this is the best setup that I could find actively that fits the criteria for my 50 MA trade. Okay. I scanned them all this weekend, but this one fits the criteria the best and is firmly on watch for me in the future. When would I take a position in this? Well, what I'd like to see is honestly, here's what I want to see, guys. I have a hard time taking trades on the long side when there's a trend line like this below. Because I know that every retail trader out there sees that. And what are they doing? They're looking at that and they're placing their stop below that trend line. Okay. They say, I'll get out if it goes below, but I'm going to play it long until it doesn't. Well, guys, the market rips those up. The market wrecks those people, goes down below, gets the liquidity it needs, and then goes up in the other direction just like it should. So I'd like to see this thing come down here, break liquidity, maybe take out these lows, take out some more people who've got their stops below this candle, respect the 50 MA, quickly rebound, and then go for these highs. Keep an eye on PSTG, just an idea, not an active trade. Okay. Now, let's get into the broad market like we usually do. QQQ, SPY, we have to look at these from an objective perspective and just see what's going on this week in the broad market. All of our other setups will be dictated by this. QQQ, it's pretty strong. Just not much to talk about here. I'd love to see us come back down here and test this. At this point, guys, like maybe this is a good level to pull back to. Maybe there's a lot of buys Buyers underneath that level. Kind of no man's land again. This candle is really strong right here, but there's the risk to reward obviously is to the downside. There's not a whole lot out here. My mentor, he kind of describes it like we're squeezing water out of a rock at this point. There's not a whole lot that we can look for as far as like upside levels go. RSI, the relative strength index, we're not oversold, but we're up there near that 70, which tells me that yeah, we could continue higher. We definitely could make all-time highs this week, push up into 580 and 590, but the risk to reward for me isn't there in spying QQQ to the upside. It just isn't. Okay. The next name I want to talk about is UMAC, another one that we looked at last week. I don't love what happened last week. I don't love this candle right here. Okay, I don't love this candle we put in. Yeah, that wick above, no follow through there on that gap up. So for me, I actually was a profit taker on that candle, and I kind of let my position just fizzle out, I guess you could say. I was just shares with this, no options. But this one, I kind of see the same thing here with this lowering liquidity. I think price needs a sharp downturn to collect some liquidity here before moving higher. It's still consolidated. It's still a firmly on watch for this reason right here. I just don't see UMAC as ready to go yet. I don't see it ready to go just yet, but firmly on watch. And stay alert for me to update you guys on this. Last one I want to talk about today, going into the week, this one's on watch for me, is NIO. Okay, NEO. And again, for you guys that are in the Discord, lock in with me real quick here. Okay, go to the My Strategy page. Go to the compression cycle swing. Okay, the compression cycle is my go-to trade method. And I want you to go to long-term resistance breakouts. Okay. The long-term resistance breakouts, what do I look for? I look for a key resistance, firstly, a key resistance level that's been tested multiple times. All right. Here is what I mean by that. $5.50. NIO. How many times have we tested it? Once, twice, three times. Give that four. Four times. Okay. Check that box. Okay. A resistance level that's been tested multiple times. Second thing, price holding higher, price holding higher near the level, not rejecting. And when I look at these past movements here, when we tested this level, pretty sharp sell-offs afterwards, not much sideways movement. Happened here, this one, it kind of did move sideways, but then it sold off. Here, just price got rejected, no strength. Here, weak candle, tried to retest, price got smacked. Okay, again, smacked. And then we come up again, and this time, I don't see us getting smacked here, right? I see us forming this sideways pattern. I see a very strong candle right here to close the week last week. And here's what I like about NIO. All these other names, the volume profiles week. Last week, and the last really month, the volume profile in NIO is impressive. It just is. So there you go, 2 for 2. We've got that price holding higher near the level. It's not really rejecting. It's kind of compressing It's just normal, okay? Or it's consolidating, showing strength. Next, the volume begins to build on each test. Okay, so when we look back on these past times, what was the volume like on this level? High, 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 high. All that this does for me, if the volume is high on the test, it tells me that this level should be respected even more. This level is important. And it shows me that. The volume's there's injections along that level. Lots of buyers and sellers exchanging hands, making deals at that point. All right. So it hits that check as well. The next thing I want to see is a breakout or clean retest entry. That's on the entry. We're not there yet. We're still looking at the setup, right? The trade's kind of framed. Now these are what we'll look for in order to get in and get a position. Um, we want to see a breakout, or we want to see this thing consolidate even more and give us give us that tight pattern that we can really get our footing in and take a position on this thing. Why I trade it, guys, I trade these because they're high risk reward. Above this level, psychologically, a lot of things change in the setup, and they can produce some of the higher risk to return trades out there in the market. The momentum plus the volume will confirm the move. Okay. And we have easy upside targets based on the clean structure. So in IO, it's firmly on watch for me. I'd like to see us digest within Friday's candle. A little bit of sideways, kind of like this right here. Here, here, before we start to break, form those higher lows and go for the break. All right. Just check out the Discord. You know, swipe through these My Strategy pages because these are, in my 5 years of trading, the best setups that you can find out there as far as swing trading goes. Most reliable, the highest win rate you're going to see. You want to be scanning for these types of setups right here. These produce some of the easiest winners, that you'll see out there. So um, that's pretty much all I've got today, guys. The last one is HKD. I added it to the accumulation setup. And again, hit the Discord, look at the My Strategy page because we talk about the accumulation setups, right? They're quiet movers that build a base for weeks or months before exploding or showing strength. HKD's got that volume injection. I want to see a stock that's spiking in price and spiking in volume, but not going anywhere. You see what I mean? Spike in volume, spike in price, stock goes nowhere. Spike in volume, spike in price. Well, stock goes nowhere. This one's got quite a history of doing that. What's that mean, guys? That means that smart money, or just big money, is hopping in this thing. They're hopping in this thing. They are taking their position and they're manipulating this thing in order to get their best dollar cost average that they can possibly get. That's what they're doing. My entry on these, I'm usually very patient. HKD, I'm feeling I might be a little early to the show. I don't really want to miss it if it goes. If it goes, I've got a bullish engulfing candle right here. Got a bullish engulfing candle. I've got two pretty solid base candles right there. And I've got an inside day on Friday. Okay, we swept this low over here in April. So some people got stopped out. We honestly swept a lot of lows last week. That's why I took my entry. If it's a little early, whatever. These are positions that I'm cool with losing, to be quite frankly. To be quite frank, I would lose 50% on this, and you know, then I'd be looking to get out. It's probably a loser. But we swept a lot of lows here. So some people that were long had their stop losses, they got stopped out. And again, It's sort of just like a lottery play, I guess you could say. Play the shares. I try to get in early on these, and that way my risk reward is incredible. Just incredible on something like this. That's all I got, guys. Had a great weekend this weekend. Got away from the charts. Got some golf in. Um, you know, that for me is the best way to come back in refreshed and ready to knock it out of the park this week. Because I think I took 5 trades last week and we were 5 for 5. 3 for 3 on the swings. I took 2 day trades and hit them both. Thursday and Friday were great opportunities for day trades. Hard for me to share those with you guys because they're so fast moving. And sometimes when I'm hitting those, I'm not around the laptop. But if you want some help on how I day trade, again, I've really been picky on my setups. I've been looking for inverse fair value gaps on the 1 to 5 minute chart. Okay. I've got some info on it in the Discord, but really, if that's something you want to get serious about, just shoot me a message. I'll hop on a call with you. I'll give you the resources, some of the people that I look to that set me up on this. And we can all profit together because there's so much money to be made out there. You just need to be sharpening and refining your setups and your tools every week. Okay? That's what we're doing right here. So peace, everybody. I appreciate you guys hopping in and sticking to it. If you've stuck around this long, you've hopefully learned quite a bit, and you got some ammunition going into the week. So I'm going to end it at that, guys. It's a great recap, and let's have a profitable week out there. Peace.